Just know when they show us something, whatever they show us is the tip of the iceberg. Whatever they're actually going for is bigger than what it appears to be, than what that situation is that they're presenting you. It has to be. Why do I say that? Because whatever they're showing you at first, that's just a starting point. They're not just jumping in and swimming like Michael Phelps. It doesn't happen like that. So you take something like this, right? Where we've seen a lot of activity in Brazil over the last 3 years. You've had Stellar active in Brazil. Remember, and see, that's the thing. They keep real quiet, real sneaky. But anyway, before we jump into the Ripple aspect, you've had Stellar active in Brazil. Matter of fact, a couple months back, didn't they partner up with some banks or something like that to help them with some of their projects, which is suspicious also. How do you help some banks with some projects and yet you're not going to be directly involved? Is that what I'm led to believe? I mean, listen, you can believe what you want, to each his own, but I find that suspicious. It sounds to me like you're working on projects that will be announced later on. You're helping these banks because there's an interest. You have a vested interest in it. I don't care if you're a profit or non-profit. You're here to make sure that your chain excels, right? So, but then see now, so you have that. You have Algorand active all around Latin America via Koi banks. That has never stopped. And you have Ripple active. You have Ripple active in Mexico. I don't know what the status of that is right now. But they did that was the first, I believe, place where they tested the offline QR code payments. And people have no idea how big that's going to be. You have to have those offline QR code payments in a lot of these high resource areas, these areas that are on the rise. Clearly, they're on the rise. Because you want to tap into those natural resources when they get tokenized with RWA, those trillions, quadrillions. They want all that money. I do too. I do as well. Not too. I do as well. You got to be able to tap into that. And guess what? Once that money starts flowing, we don't want anything stopping that money. So that was important. Then you got this going on here in Brazil. Ripple and Mercado Bitcoin to launch crypto-enabled payments in Brazil. There was so much big news the other day. I just couldn't get to this. But this is huge, not because of the apparent. I'm telling you now, not because of the apparent. But wait, let's read this little tidbit. Then I'll give some more of my thoughts. It says here, Mercado Bitcoin, one of the largest crypto exchanges in Latin America and a partner of MasterCard, and MasterCard rearing his head again, is working with Ripple. Didn't MasterCard have some dealings with Ripple in the past anyway? Look at all the connections. They're all coming together. Everything's coming together. Is working with Ripple on crypto-enabled international payments. Now, let me ask you something here, folks. You guys, you have a lot of brilliant ideas out there. No matter how you convey it, I see it. You believe that when they sit in a meeting with these companies, they're not talking packages? What company is not offering a package these days that wants big money? Whether you call it a package or you call it an upsell, yeah, oh yeah, you're trying to bundle everything together. So if you're Ripple, you come to the table with any of these systems. Who do they say here? Ripple and Mercado Bitcoin and whatever they're going to be doing down there. You sit in a meeting with any of these other companies. You say, hey, listen, we have this cross-border payments thing. That's our initial offering, which clearly it is. It's where we excel, where we're beating everybody, which, by the way, if you didn't see that members only video yesterday, make sure you go watch that members only video because I got another one I'm going to be dropping. All this stuff connects together. If you want the best of the best information, right? All this connects together. But you say, hey, we have this, cross-border payments for both the retail sector as well as B2B. That's where you start. That's where you begin. Then if they're satisfied with that, we've seen this before. If they're satisfied with that, you say, listen, we're throwing in this aspect here. You don't have to activate it right now. It's all for real world asset tokenization. That way, if you want to do it later, you can just, it's already there. You just have to activate it. And I don't know how Ripple wants to do that. Do they take payment for that, for deployment, for setting up the infrastructure, for activation? I don't know. But you offer them something really, really sweet. But it's already there. Why? Because everybody wants those resources. These areas like Africa, China, I don't care how much people want to downplay it. The world is changing. Times are changing. If you can't see that, I don't know. I don't know what you're seeing. Resources are everything. This is why a lot of these areas where you have just pay attention to this. A lot of areas where there's, how can I say this? Problems, right? They allow there to be problems. They allow those areas to become how can I say this? Less desirable, so that they then can be acquired. Why? Because of what's in the ground. They want those resources. See, regular people are not thinking about that. Those untapped resources are power. That's a lot of value. They want the gold, they want the silver, they want the lithium, they want the oil. They want to tokenize that. This is huge. I'm not joking around. Right? So pay attention to that. I'm telling you, I know strategy. Whether it's reading from, Machiavelli, learning from that when I was younger, to my father constantly making me read The Art of War. Listen, to being in sports and all types of sports, to being around some of the best athletes when I was in my youth, and I was doing my thing. I know strategy. I'm telling you, they want those resources. So when these companies go in, and they've already talked about going hard with the tokenization of real world assets, understand commodities are one of the biggest pieces. I was going to say something, but I don't want to give something away. It was something we covered in a members only video. I don't remember if it was maybe a video back or two. You just got to watch through them. They're all important, but they want those. So when they go into Brazil, they go into Latin America, understand you're talking about a place that hasn't reached its potential yet, but it's on a rise. It's changing. Everything's changing down there, and they want to tap into that. And you know what's interesting? I can't remember the country. Just remember this. This is fact. You can look all this up. There was a country that was associated with the BRICS nations down there in Latin America, and they tested out. This is years ago. They tested out tokenizing the value of oil, and it was successful. Then they just threw their hands in the air and they said, "Hey, wait, let's not talk about this anymore." And they didn't talk about it anymore. What's going on with that? My thoughts are maybe it was too early. If it's successful, why would you just drop that? The rest of the world wasn't ready yet. And they just have to sit back. They can ride it out. They have all the time in the world. But I'm telling you now, Ripple, companies like Ripple, Algorand, Chainlink, Solana, where they're respected by these major institutions, whether they're banks or non-banking financial institutions, they want to tokenize quadrillions of real world assets, and it will be easy. They're going to keep it quiet. They're going to keep everybody focused on cross-border payments and things like that. That's why they always put that out there. They don't even talk about interbank payments. One of the biggest things out there, interbank payments, is huge. And you only got to, oh man. There's so much I want to say, but I have so little time. So anyway, so now it says this. Blockchain payments network Ripple is collaborating with a major crypto exchange in Brazil to launch cross-border payments enabled by crypto. Ripple has partnered with Brazil Mercado Bitcoin exchange to enable local businesses. They're going after businesses. Again, I told people this years ago. Remember, I said this. Small to medium-sized businesses, folks. That's big money as well. And they are starving for technology. Starving. Now, we're way out in advance when it comes to technology. Even when you take into account AI, because I'm hearing about a lot of small, medium-sized businesses have been having trouble with their AI offerings and have had to go back to their normal way of operations pre-AI until they figure things out. I don't know what the problems are. This is what I'm reading, okay? Believe it or not, I don't know. I'm not part of those businesses. I'm just reading. This is from the research that I'm doing. Okay. I'm sure you've seen these articles as well. But with DLT, we almost have it perfected. And we are the base layer of almost everything that's going on right now. So you have DLT, then on top of that, you have a little bit of AI. And we already been told by the pros that all three are going to be combined together. DLT, AI, and quantum computing, just like I said 2 to 3 years ago. I told people it was coming when I saw what IBM was doing, developing the quantum computers at the same time as they were experimenting with the DLT technologies. I said to myself, wait a minute. I like to think of myself as not just a researcher, but a little bit of a scientist, although I don't bring a lot of science to this channel. But those who know, because I've spoken about a lot of different things over time. Especially on the other channel I had, but I haven't had it active in a long time. Now, I said to myself, why wouldn't you combine those two together? Then when I saw what Algorand was doing, I believe it was Algorand with the quantum proofing, I said, they're going to put all this together. Listen, folks, right now, DLT is so dominant. I think it's unfathomable to most people. They can't comprehend that we're out front. I read an article trying to remember when this was. It was recently, right? And it was funny because there's an institution, a very reputable institution, that was talking about how they're trying to catch up. That was interesting to me. It was like they're admitting a lot, telling people a lot. I just wonder if people see it. I know there's a lot going on right now. I know that in the world, there's a hell of a lot going on in the world right now. So I get it if people can't see everything, but that's why I'm trying to bring you the news. And if you have a little bit of time, research every single thing that I say. Look it all up, question everything, question everybody. Yeah, it's going to be, that's how we learn. That's why we learn. Intelligent people ask questions. We don't follow blindly. We don't. Ripple has partnered with Mercado Bitcoin Exchange to enable local businesses to settle payments using Ripple's managed end-to-end payment solution, unquote. The firm officially announced on October the 3rd. Listen, so there is no, when I'm thinking about it, every time we discover a little bit more, right? And we're able to grasp a hold of a little bit more of the value that they're trying to access or move, right? We can recalculate. There's no way. Listen, at the right time, and I think that 100%, I think the SEC, I don't know what's going to happen with all this appeals and all this stuff. I'm hearing a bunch of different things. I'll wait for the lawyers to speak a little bit more on that. But if we 100% defeat the SEC outright, we're 100% unleashed, then it's only going to be within a year's time. I can't even imagine what's about to happen when we're untouchable. You understand that if we defeat them one more time, that's it? We're untouchable? Where's that price going to go? If they decide to make a bunch of bank announcements, and maybe they've been sitting on them because of that, which makes sense because, once again, that's why they put that money to the side. Didn't they do that? They didn't pay the SEC outright. They thought the SEC might be the snakes that they are, the rats that they are. No disrespect. My apologies if that was a little bit harsh verbiage for the listeners out there. But I'm telling you, I'm not so kind to my enemy. I'm not, but I'm kind to my viewers out there. So I don't want to put too much coarse language out there for your ears, you know, but they put that money to the side, didn't pay the SEC. So they knew something was coming. So then that makes sense why they didn't make all the big announcements they could make. They've been dribbling announcements. How do you say that? Dripping announcements to the people, but nothing too major. And I said that too. I said, wait a minute. They could make big announcements. Now we know why they didn't. If they're holding back and they make one big announcement after another, end of 2025, beginning of 2026, like the lawyers say, if that case ends at that time, if this all happens the way that they're saying it might happen, they snap their fingers and say, hey, listen, we have enough banks now. Let's do interbank payments. Let's get that kicking off. Let's do. They take a slice of United States. They push everything through, rush it all through, and take a piece of United States, which a lot of these banks are on the table. These commercial banks don't want to work with these central banks. They don't. They don't want to be controlled. They don't want to take the chance the central banks are going to cut them off and cut them out of the piece of the pie. And on top of that, they've wanted to grow. And on top of that, not only did they take umbrage to the central banks, with the possibility of cutting them out, right? Because central banks can go directly to the customers when they have CBDC systems in place. That puts the commercial banks in a precarious position. So not only do they take umbrage to that, but they also take umbrage to all the combinations. Sorry about that. I'm shaving and stuff like that, so little hairs might fall on my lip or something like that. So I'm like this, trying to make sure there's nothing on there to be presentable on camera. But whatever. I just keep it real with you. Right? We're people out here. I'm not trying to be fake at all. And I'm not editing this piece. But in case people wonder, well, may keep doing that because little hairs like just falling off my mustache. So anyway, I just came from outside, some garden work, shaved up real quick, jump on camera. I got to boom. The days are busy. I have to do one thing after another. But they also take umbrage to all the sabotage when it comes to the interest rates going up, right? And how that hurt them badly. And then once the interest rates are raised, which they know the Fed and all the other big banks have a hand in that decision making. They do. Right. So then once that injures the smaller and medium sized banks, then the bigger banks come in and take over the smaller sized banks when they get in trouble. They don't like that. This is their opportunity. They're looking at this as their opportunity to gain power over their own destiny and grow like they never could before. I said this a long time ago, but now you're starting to see it. Well, how are we starting to see it, Mick? Listen, like I said, first of all, check that members only section. It's like a video or two back. Watch that one, right? You'll know when you see it, that article. And then on top of that, they've been saying it literally. Listen, the banks have not been quiet. They have not been quiet. You just got to do a little bit of digging because they don't make this news very widespread. So now, and it's been years they've made this well known. Okay, this is why you had the BIS, IMF, the ECB had to give assurances to them and say, hey, listen, we're not going to step on your toes and go straight to the customer. We want to keep you involved, to the commercial banks. So the commercial banks are on the table. Big money stuff. Then, so after all of that, interbank payments, retail cross-border payments, B2B cross-border payments. First of all, that price of anything that's involved with that, any of these top bank coins that are involved in that way, with the new financial system, there's no way their prices don't go up. This is not financial advice, just my humble opinion. Make up your own mind about how you feel about these things and what you think. Make your own decisions. There's no way their prices stay down. And it would happen. It would have to happen meteorically, because what did there was a representative we watched a video of maybe a couple of months back. What did that representative say? It was a video on YouTube. They said everything works better when you have a bunch of banks come online at the same time, using the system at the same time. That's what they said. Then we read an article that said the same thing. So I was correct in saying that. I said that a long time ago. You have to have, this is why you have a Ripple network. Then when Algorand went into Italy, they got a bunch of banks all at the same time. When Quant first started working in England, they got a bunch of banks all at the same time. You have to have a whole lot of them for the system running at the same time, for the system to function properly, right? Not to mention that that's a huge part of interoperability as well. You're going to have other, mechanisms of interoperability, but to have a bulk of institutions on one network was better than that, right? All right, so you have that. There's no way those prices stay low. They just can't. I just don't see it happen. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. We've been right on a lot of stuff along the way. It's just like Christopher Waller said, it's going to take time. He said it. The Fed tells you it's going to take time for the private sector to get where they need to be. It's going to take time. And we have that time now. We don't have a choice. But it doesn't matter if you want wealth, if you want generational wealth, the shot at it, at least the possibility of it. This is it right here. So now you have that. And then after that, of course, the massive explosion that is to come, that should be real world asset tokenization. I think them getting in good with these regions right now, just based on cross-border payments and et cetera, probably interbank payments as well, is a precursor to them accessing and tapping into real world asset tokenization. And I'm telling you, and then the fees and everything like that, where you pay on a network for traceability and such. Understand, a lot of these countries want to track everything. Yeah, they have no respect for the regular people. They want to track and trace everything. You imagine, they have to pay fees for traceability of various activities and things like that over the network. But the network does offer them all this traceability if that's what they want for their customized system. The entirety of the network doesn't have to be like that, but their customized ecosystem might be like that. So you have that going on. What does that do to the price? You have to pay for these different things with the native currency. What does that do? Right? I mean, so sure, maybe they can use stable coins, et cetera, but stable coins will always be inferior, designed that way to force all of these entities to choose the native tokens when it is appropriate, because the native tokens always provide cheaper fees, cheaper transaction fees. It's quicker, it's faster, everything, like, how that goes. When you have payroll rolling across it, because they want to track that too, as well as they just function better. Everything goes, reaches the destinations faster, etc. Yeah, payroll going across them. What happens to the price then when all of this is up and running and going? Those prices can't stay low. They don't. I just don't see that happening. All right, so now I was enjoying talking about that article there. You have to enjoy what you do. I hope people enjoy something that they do throughout the day. Here's my little piece, right? The rest of the day is crazy busy, a lot of stress, and I get to this here, and this is where I can cook a little bit, All right. So now this is where I put my detective hat on. Now, this article is titled "Bitcoin Gets U.S. Employment Boost as BTC Price Eyes $300 Million Ask Liquidity." So let's scroll down here and find out what's going on, folks. Bitcoin saw volatility around October the 4th, Wall Street open, as United States employment data dramatically beat expectations. I'm going to go with what they're saying for now. I know these numbers have to be revised. I know they have to go in with a fine tooth comb. It's always any numbers they provide you, you better revise them. You better go in with a fine tooth comb, but that'll come later. So as of now, I'm just going to let this ride. Data from Cointelegraph Markets Pro and TradingView showed BTC price action nearing $62,000 on Bitstamp, up by around 2% on the day. Bitcoin USD reacted well to the U.S. non-farm payrolls figures, which came in significantly higher than predicted on September at 254,000 versus 147,000, respectively. U.S. equities also responded positively, with both the S&P 500 and NASDAQ Composite Index opening higher. Quote, "The clear answer here is that risk appetite is incredibly strong," unquote. Trading resource the XRP Ledger wrote in part of various responses on X. Quote, "Markets are perceiving all news as good news for the first time in years," unquote. Hey, whatever works, man. You know, listen, people want to have a good time. They want it to be a good time period. It's been a harsh time period in a lot of different ways. So the people need this. They need to see that green. Why not? XRP nonetheless cautioned that headline consumer price index inflation data due October 10th needed to support the risk on narrative, guiding markets to believe that the U.S. Federal Reserve can achieve a, quote, soft landing, unquote, on inflation. In turn, markets began pricing in overwhelming odds of the Fed's next interest rate cut in November being smaller than the surprise, 0.5% move last month. There's so much confusion about this, so much. Quote, "Following the report, odds of a 25 basis point interest rate cut in November skyrocketed to 93%. Really? Before the report, markets saw a near 50% chance of a 50 basis point cut next month," unquote, XRP commented, referring to data from CME Group's Fed Watch tool. Listen, go Bitcoin, go. Once again, they can't stop Bitcoin, even though a lot of entities want to. They can't. I saw something else about BlackRock is funny. BlackRock is making more news headlines today. They were saying something bullish about Bitcoin again. I can't remember exactly. I just know it was bullish once again. And it's so interesting. People hate them so much. They're not paying attention to the signs. Listen, what BlackRock wants, they usually will get. This is a precursor. When they stop talking, then the mainstream media will begin talking. They'll begin. And when the mainstream media begins talking and pumping Bitcoin, oh, Bitcoin's great. Oh, the banks, and the governments are being more lenient on Bitcoin. I'm starting to see little articles like that here and there. When that gets more widespread, there's a possibility for Bitcoin to go up significantly. But, hasn't happened yet, but we shall see. But I think things are looking really good, even right now. Right, with the volatility, I don't think that was that bad. I think there was some good signs in there. Went down, came back up. Resilience, immediacy in its resilience. I think that's pretty good. All right, so now let's go here. We're gonna have to skip an article. So let's see if we can slide that back here. All right, and there is this a gold article? I believe it is. Sweet gold. Now, this article is titled, "Nobody Wants to Be Short Gold This Weekend." Gold is gaining new momentum heading into the weekend as the demand for safe haven assets grows due to increasing geopolitical instability. And you know where. We said this a long time ago, too. I said it looked like things were going to heat up over there, and that as geopolitical tensions, it doesn't matter where it is or what's going on. Any problems in the world happen, gold, people start running to gold. If the banks collapse, they start running to gold. Anything happens, the people will move towards gold. Two things: gold, money market funds. All right. And they've been going towards gold massively. And gold is getting propped up. That's another thing. It's getting propped up because of the central banks. They just continue to buy. Even when you hear that FUD, they come out with, oh, this bank stopped buying. Yes, temporarily. And they jump right back in like a month, two later. They continue to buy. Right. They sell a little bit, then they buy a lot. You can't fool us at this point. We see the pattern. The banks have to continue to buy gold because there's a problem in the global financial system. Everybody can see it. That's in the know, that's doing their research. Even a little bit of research, they can see this. There's a problem with the fiat currency legacy system. And everybody, including the banks, is trying to protect themselves. What goes up must come down. The system can't go up forever. It can't be strong forever. It must break down. It's just part of life. Everything has its seasons, right? So gold faced some initial selling pressure Friday morning after data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed that robust economic activity created 254,000 U.S. jobs last month. All right, now I'm trying to keep a lot of my comments to myself because there's a lot of ghost job postings out there. And there's a lot of, they'll put the postings out and they will take the interviews, but they're not hiring people. There's a lot of that going on as well. There's a lot of data manipulation. I'm just saying, I like the truth. Ahead of the report, what's the truth, Mick? The facts that are out there, the data what's actually happening. That's the truth. I suppose to each his own. Each eye, no two eyes see the same, I suppose. Ahead of the report, markets were pricing in a 30% chance that the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates by 50 basis points next month. However, these expectations have now completely evaporated. Yeah, 93%, I'll say so. December gold futures last traded at $2,669.10 an ounce, roughly unchanged from last week. Quote, gold is holding up for one reason and one reason only. The risk of a weekend event in, the region that's having a lot of conflict right now over there. It says, unquote, said Ole Hansen, head of commodity strategy at Saxo Bank. Jesse Colombo, an independent precious metals analyst and founder of the Bubble Report, said that while gold has been well supported by generally elevated geopolitical tensions. What? No, it's been supported by central bank buying. I don't know why you're not saying that. I humbly and respectfully disagree. It's been supported by central bank buying for years now. Well, I've been covering it for years. And then the geopolitical tensions is a sprinkle on top, and all of the different bank problems sprinkles on top. But let's keep it going. It says, and then they go heavily into the conflicts and don't need to do that on the channel because YouTube will not like that. I'm telling you right now, they treat everybody differently. I'm not trying to get the channel into trouble. I'd like to still continue to come to you in the same capacity. With a relatively light economic calendar next week, Lukman Otunga, manager of market analysis, said that gold will be caught between resilient economic data and chaos in certain regions. Quote, looking at the technical picture, gold remains in a range on the daily charts with support at $2,630 and resistance at $2,675, unquote, he said. Although gold remains below $2,700 an ounce, Colombo noted that the fact that dips continue to be bought signals that gold remains in a strong bull market. Of course, what? I think most people who are into gold, they're tapped into some deep information. Like if they're not doing the research themselves, they're listening to them. A lot of gold analysts, researchers, they're very good. I'm just going to say that. They've been here for a while. They know what they're talking about. We get really deep. And they know, not financial advice, folks, not, just my opinion, but they know gold may have much higher to go. And with gold, I got to throw it in there, silver. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.